everyone. Darren Hunter here with Deniz Youssef. We are from the PM Growth Experts podcast show, part of Inspired Growth Training. This is a video podcast, and of course, we are audio recording, making it available on audio for iTunes, but also on Podbean for our Android people. And today's guest rock star is Steve Rozenberg from Houston. Hi, Steve.
Hey, what's going on, my man?
Can you do a better introduction to Steve than that? Like, you know, do like an American introduction, like, please welcome Steve Rozenberg. Come on down.
The thing is, today's interview is very different. Steve is very much family, and we have known Steve for so long. We've done a national tour with him going back in March this year over 6 cities, I think it is, Australia, New Zealand. So Steve is very much part of the family, but even more important, Steve is a rent roll growth expert globally, stands on his own. And so, you know, it's a real privilege to have you here today, Steve. And I think right now you are sitting in a Sydney hotel. Is that right?
I am actually.
So why is that? Why are you in Sydney when you're all the way from Houston? What's the deal? What are you doing here?
I have a side job, we'll call it. Side job is being an airline pilot. So I fly a route.
Hey, that must be boring. I mean, seriously, compared to property management.
Well, you know what? It affords me the ability to get a lot of work done without anybody bothering me because I'm in a tube for about 17 hours.
It's good to know that you're working on property management while you're flying a plane, and that's why I fly Qantas.
All righty. So for everyone's knowledge, Steve is a United Airlines international pilot. You have got the route between Houston and Sydney. So right now you're on the layover between flights, correct? And you're flying the Dreamliners as well, which is quite an incredible aircraft. So you're a real live Superman, mate.
Yeah, I fly the 787 for United Airlines. And yesterday, as we know, I was trying to get up to Brisbane for some business on my layover. And this airline over here, I forget what their name, they've got like a rat on their tail or something. And apparently there's a little bit of fog and some drizzle. And apparently they decide they're not going to travel during that time frame. So
okay. Let's remember the date. Yesterday was the 19th of December. Everyone will know there was golf ball hailstorms.
Dennis, there was baseball-sized hailstones coming down in Sydney. So it wasn't golf ball, it was baseball, but no bigger than what they have in Texas anyway. So Let's move on with this. But Steve, before we just talk about, I just want to do a quick promotion for our exclusive partners, Inspection Manager, which is a very most popular inspection app here in Australia. Of course, looks after all your ingoing inspections plus your routine inspections as well. Now, as a property owner myself, my property manager uses Inspection Manager. I get sent their reports, and it's so easy for me to open it, see what I need to see the photos there. It's such an easy format for me as an owner to digest, very quickly letting me know what repairs that need to be done. So guys, if you're not on Inspection Manager, get on board, go to inspectionmanager.com and get a hold of the most popular, most well-used inspection app in Australia. Now, Steve, you're a director along with Pete Newbig, running Empire Industries based in Houston, and you guys have really taken off. I think we connected 4 or 5 years ago, I think. Firstly on Skype, then within a year I was spending some time at your office, seeing your operations. You guys are very, very impressive. But in the last 12 months, Steve, you've really, really taken off. You've now got offices in 4 cities, which is amazing. But I'll let Deniz, drive the interview with that. But you guys have really become a leading force in America.
Yeah. We embraced a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of different education techniques, but, we've really embraced what our unique abilities are between Pete and myself. And there was a very good book called Rocket Fuel, and it's part of the Traction book series of EOS. And what it explained about is everybody has their unique ability of what they do best. And I have a certain skill and Pete has a certain skill. And we've been able to take that and disseminate it down through leadership levels of our team to really get our momentum going. And we're seeing that from the amount of doors that we're closing, from the staff level engagement to what we're doing. It's not a one vertical way. We're really seeing it transcend across the company. And I think that's a big part is what the team is doing, and, you know, giving me the ability, you know, to be able to be here, do these kind of conversations, have upper level conversations, pull myself out of the weeds, which, as we all know, when you're running a company, it's easier said than done. It's you know, everybody says think out of the box and all these terms, but I think the reality is as operators, we want to, you know, roll up our sleeves and look under the hood ourselves and fix things. And that's not a leader, that's a doer. And there's a mental mind shift that you have to do to change, to be able to get the team to work better than you can, and accept, you know, that there are better people than you out there that could do things maybe not as good as you personally could, but collectively, if you have 7 members doing something 80%, that's a lot better than me doing one at 100%. So that's kind of what I've learned.
Yeah, that's good to see. I mean, yeah, and it's important to be able to let go as a leader as well. You know, a lot of people struggle in that, and I think a lot of property managers, when they're training other people and they're trying to move into another position, and I know when I'm training somebody to go into that BDM position, they all struggle letting go because they like that control of what they're doing as well. So a good analogy in, you know, having 7 people doing 80% of the job is better than you being stretched too thin and being worn out, and etc. It's well said. So Steve, earlier you said, I mean, as we know, you're an airline pilot for United Airlines. Why real estate? Like, you're a pilot, for crying out loud. I mean, you know, did you wake up one morning and think, I'm going to give up being a pilot and I'm going to jump into real estate? Like, most people would be thinking you're an idiot right now. Like, he's a pilot. Why would he want to go into real estate?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and I dive deep into this, as you guys know, when I do my presentations. But, you know, I look at myself as a accidental entrepreneur of 9/11, and what I mean by that is, you know, 9/11 is what kind of formed my mindset that the safe, secure career that I had as an airline pilot. When 9/11 hit, I was basically forced with a furlough notice saying that I was going to be out of a career, out of a job. And we didn't even know if that career, the whole industry, was going to exist because it was so foreign. But what it did to me is it realized that the safe, secure job that I thought I had was really the most unsafe and unsecure, because all I could do is fly a plane around the sky. I couldn't drive a commercial truck. I couldn't, you know, speak in front of people. I couldn't sell. I had no other skills because my whole life I had studied to be an airline pilot. And when that gets taken away from you, or the potential to have been taken away from you, you realize how vulnerable you are. And it's like getting hit in the face with a brick when you're not even expecting it. And so it made me realize that I needed to have something else as a safety and security that I could control, not that would control me. And I gravitated towards real estate, owning properties, and, you know, transcended that way to creating a management company. But that's the 9/11 is what did it.
Okay, so you owned real estate, and I know the story, obviously. Darren knows the story, but just for the people. So you owned investment properties. I mean, still, like you touched on, you could have easily jumped into driving trucks, or maybe flying airplanes for farmers or whatever, you know what I mean? Like doing crop dusting and stuff, whatever the case, because that's normally, like, I sold my fruit business and I went, okay, there's nothing else I can do that's fruit or nothing, right? But you had that pilot, you had that license in the pilot, and I would have presumed it would have went gravitating towards something else with an airplane. So it was because you had investment properties, and, you know, I don't get it.
Well, I didn't have investment properties at the time. At the time, I was just flying. The scary thing was the fact that there was going to be about 200,000 other airline pilots out of a job. And I saw, you know, it was an interesting dynamic I have the unique ability that when things are kind of falling apart behind you, I can kind of slow things down and step back a little bit. And at the time, I was able to step back and just look at everything going on. And what I saw was a lot of people clinging to that career as an airline pilot, where they were going to China, they were going to Korea, they were going down to Mexico, they were going everywhere just to save a job. And they were doing it at a fraction of the pay that we were making at the airline. And I thought, I don't want to run scared the rest of my life. And I don't want to be afraid that if there's a hiccup in the industry that I'm out of a job. And, you know, I saw people that had been living their whole lives. They had pensions, they had everything. Well, when the companies went into bankruptcy, they wiped out their pensions. They said, sorry, you're retired, but you're not getting your money anymore. Wow. And I thought, I don't want to be dependent on that. So I like the idea of flying. Luckily, I came within 30 people of losing my job. I never lost my job. But what I realized was I need to control my own destiny. But I also wanted to keep flying. The only other thing that I saw out there was real estate gave me the ability to leverage my time, create assets and wealth, and be able to keep my career.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So tell us a little bit about your setup, because you guys certainly do real estate a little bit different. You know, so your area, ideally, you first originally started in Houston. And when I came into your office and I was training your BDM at the time, you had a BDM and you had the property managers, etc. So, you know, tell us a little bit about how you guys are, like your structure and your setup.
Sure. So we try to structure a little bit differently than probably the average management company because, you know, our whole concept is we run our company through KPIs and through metrics. We don't run them by me being over their shoulder or Pete being over their shoulder asking what they're doing. Their numbers will dictate whether or not they're doing their job or not. And as you guys know, I am a very go forward, growth mind person. And I realize that if you're going to grow your company, if you want your company to grow, you've got to understand in depth marketing, and you've got to understand how to make that phone ring. And when that phone rings, you've got to understand how to answer it, what to say, when to say it, and how to close that client. And more importantly, how to get that client to keep buying from you. And so I really, really learned that craft as much as I could. I listened to everything that anyone told me. Content marketing, videos. I took it in like a sponge. And I've also, at the same time, Pete and I are coached by mentors. We get mentored just like, you know, there's coaches out there. I think it's an investment to be coached. And they bring you on to the next level. And what we've learned is we've learned the business side of it as well. And what I mean by that is as we've been growing the company, we've also learned how to structure and stabilize our company so that our business runs without us. Because the definition of a business is a commercial profitable enterprise that runs without you. So if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, which I hope I don't here in Sydney, but if I do, the business will keep running. But if somebody says, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, it would implode, well, then they don't have a business, they have a job. And the biggest challenge with people that trying to create a business is they don't understand the fundamentals of structuring the business as it is, as far as, you know, organization charts, right person, right seat, who should be doing what, how do you delegate those duties? And so we've learned that, Pete and I have learned that in a constant education. It's, you know, gotten a master's degree in it basically from the School of Hard Knocks, but we've learned how to structure our company so that it runs without us, but it also runs momentum picking up. So it's getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It certainly does. So, I mean, you've got, so you also do a great job in a little bit hard for Australians and New Zealanders to get their head around this. Your property managers, your BDMs are out there building relationships with rival agencies.
Yes. Yeah, you know, a lot of things that people do, what I found, and because I'm not from the industry, I don't have any preconceived notions or, you know, it's one of those.
There's no blinkers. There's no blinkers.
And so when you don't know what's right or wrong, you just do. It's what happens is when people tell you, oh, you don't do that, we shouldn't do that, that's not how the industry works. That is when you start changing your mindset and you go, oh yeah, we shouldn't do that. So before we were tainted with that mindset, we basically went and said, okay, well, let's create partnerships with all the realtors out there. And let's create a win-win scenario, because in the States, it was very adversarial where the real estate agents did not like the property management companies because of the perception that they would be stealing their clients.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, let's turn that around. Let me see if there's a way to work this. And so we started going to them and basically created a referral system that gave them back the property should the owner ever sell it, give them a monthly referral fee, recurring referral fee. And not only that, but we were able to position the message, which is the most important thing. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Same thing. It's how we were positioning the message to the realtor. We call it whiff 'em, what's in it for me. But it's how we positioned it so that they got something out of it more than what we got out of it, or the perception was.
Yeah, so you're encouraging other realtors, let us manage your investment properties for you, and we'll give them back to you when they're for sale. You don't have to worry about running a department. Let us do it.
Exactly.
So you're building bridges that way because, it just so the listeners understand, in America, anyone can just start up a property management division. There's a lot of small companies that are out there. So you're encouraging them, you stick to sales, let us master it. We'll look after your clients, correct?
Yeah, because the reality is and what I explain to these realtors when I go in and speak to them, and when you come in as a trusted expert and an educator and not there to sell, when I talk about me, I'm selling. When I talk about them, I'm educating.
Yeah.
When I can come in and talk to them about them and some of the challenges that they may have, which I know they have, I'm coming in as an educator. And so when I do that and I'm able to educate them, the reality is you're not going to make any money in the property management business unless it's done in volume. And if you're going to do it in volume, you've got to understand the laws and regulations and the procedures. And it's not something that you can do on the side. So you need to, one thing that I've learned, and I struggle with, but I think we've done a good job, is we really stay in our vertical. So we, as an example, I tell people, we manage single family properties and that is it. We make cheese pizzas. We make the best cheese pizza, but we don't put any toppings on it. We don't serve salad. We don't serve bread. We make pizzas. We manage single family properties. We don't do buys and sales. We don't do rehabs. We don't do financing. I don't do those things. And because of that, because we basically said no to a lot of other possible business models, everybody says yes to us because they go, you know what? Those are the guys to talk to because they know exactly what they're doing. They are so focused on property management. They're the best out there because they don't do anything else.
Yeah, well done. That's good. So how many properties have you grown in the last 12 months?
We are just cresting about 450 properties this year.
Oh, is that all?
That's all. That's organic. We didn't buy one rental.
It's been a slow year, has it?
And it's not just that. You've gone from, you were at the start of, or 12 months ago, you're in Houston and Dallas, but now where have you extended to?
So we opened up Fort Worth, which is I would say you would think it's a Dallas Fort Worth, but we have learned that those are actually two different markets, two different targets. So that was very interesting to learn. And then we're opening up in Austin, which is, they're all within about a 2 or 3 hour drive of each other. Texas is quite big. And so our focus so far has been through Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston as well.
And the next 12 months, what's happening?
So for the next 12 months, our goal is we're going to start the roll up model, meaning acquisitions. And so we're going to start doing purchases. So through organic growth, our model, our forecast that we did already for the year is 622 doors is what, we call them doors. You guys call them managements. Our goal is 622 managements, and then we're looking to buy at least 500 properties.
Wow. Okay. So that's interesting. So just to give everyone a bit of an understanding of how big Texas is, Texas has got between 30 and 33 million population. Australia hasn't even hit 26 as a country, and Australia is a similar size to America if we were to put it on top. So, a massive, massive population. So, Steve, if you were to meet yourself, the first day that you started in real estate, mate, what advice would you give yourself? Like, knowing what you know now, and you were to walk in, I mean, you mentioned earlier that we've all learnt from the University of Hard Knocks. I think we've all done that. But, you've been a BDM, you've gone out listed properties. Darren has attempted it. I've done it. So, we've all learnt those mistakes in saying the wrong things, etc. But what would you say to yourself now, knowing what you know now, if you were to tap yourself on the shoulder before you walked in the door on the first day?
I would say I need to make sure that I surround myself with the right people, right-minded people. And I need to map out the destination of my company before I start. So I need to make sure that I know where I'm going, where the end goal is, what does it look like when I'm ready to sell it, even if I'm not planning to sell, but what does that look like to me? And more importantly, what date is that? What date is my finished business? Is my business finished?
Yeah.
And that was, because what happens is you start getting caught up in the minutia of just being busy. And I think a lot of people, they mistake being busy for being productive. And they think, man, I'm working 15 hours a day. I should be more successful. But yet we know people that are a lot more successful that work less than we do. And a lot of them, because they're so focused and they're so pinpointed. And I would say the other thing that I would do is I would say no more than I say yes. I think I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes by saying yes to ideas and projects when I should have said no and stayed focused on what my core is. And I think that, it's kind of like going back and forth or just going in a straight line. So I think we all do this, right? We all go back and forth. We try things, right? We don't know, so we try it. But do we, the question is are we staying true to what our goal is? And one of the things with our business coach, we'll ask him, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And his answer is always, does that align with your goal? Is that part of the plan? If it's not part of the plan, then either you make it part of the plan or you say no. And so it kind of, it gives these wild ideas of going, hey, we're going to start dry cleaning investors' clothing. It seems like a great idea. Investors wear clothes. We could do dry cleaning. It makes sense, right? But is that part of our plan? And staying focused has been it's tough because I think the more successful you get in business, the more opportunities come to you, right? And you sometimes I think our egos make us think like, wow, I'm successful. I'm doing better. This person wants me to come into that business. I could kind of lend a couple hours, but what am I saying no to with my business because I've said yes to him? Yeah. And so it's a slippery slope I've learned, and it's hard. And I've learned in the last year, especially, which is why I think one of the reasons we've been picking up a lot of momentum with our company is because we're learning to say no a lot more. And it's not easy,
Oh, I think it's a good analogy, and Darren would agree on this one. It's like you don't say yes to every door or opportunity. Like, I think if I can quote you, Darren, 5% of your owners take up 95% of your time.
No. It's more like 20%. It's a Bruno Principle. 20% of your owners take up 80% of your problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you learn to say no.
It's what you say no to that makes you the best. If you're saying yes to every roof and front door that comes your way, you're going down. Yeah. You are going down. You're going to get caught up and your people are going to burn out, and it's going to be your business is going to be so toxic.
Yeah. I agree. And it's hard. It's a hard lesson because we had an opportunity one time. An example was to start a maintenance division of our company. Instead of outsourcing it, we would create a company that does maintenance. And the margins were amazing. We were going to make a lot of money doing maintenance. And it made all the sense in the world. We ran the numbers. We did the forecasting. It made sense. We're talking like 40, 50% profit margins. It was great. Well, what we didn't realize, or we didn't think about, was now we had to manage another set of people. We had to create another marketing plan. We had to create a new business model, which we didn't do, but we should have, for this maintenance division. Then we had to worry about like tracking supplies, time tracking, labor, maintenance workers. All of a sudden, and what we realized is now we were giving poor service on the management side, and the clients that were the best clients, the 80-20, the top 20 clients would leave us because they said, well, you guys aren't even paying attention. You guys are so busy running this maintenance division. We're like, no, the maintenance division is to help the company, but it's not perceived that way because we didn't set it up correctly. So it's,
Yeah, I get that. That's interesting. So let's segue in to the next question. If you were to start a rent roll from scratch, what would your key 3 strategies be to start with?
I would first and foremost invest a large portion, if not all of that portion, into marketing. Mm-hmm. I would invest money in training my BDMs. I would not now this is me because I'm a salesperson, I would not be as concerned about structure. Because if the phone doesn't ring and I don't close anyone, there's no business and it doesn't matter anyways. So I would really, really focus on creating the funnels to make the phone ring and make sure that I can bring that door in. And I would also, you said 3 things?
Yeah, so training, marketing, because that's creating the funnels.
Yeah. I think that I would be very, I think I would be very sure to create the right culture.
That's a good one.
So that I hire the right people. Because what I've learned is I think a lot of us, we knee-jerk reaction hire. You know, this industry as a whole, one thing that I've learned, and it's been very interesting, and this is one of the things that we've changed at my company, which is interesting, is property management as a whole in the US and us, you know, I do some work in Australia, so I know as well, is a reactionary industry, right?
Yeah.
Phone calls, we answer it, and you're basically yelled at, right? The only time an owner calls you is when they want to yell at you or fire you. That's the only reason they call you, right? They're never calling you to say you're doing a great job, right? They're calling you because they're pissed. So because of that, you're a complaint desk. Property managers are complaint desks, right? All they are is they are on the receiving end. Now, a lot of companies, and we were one of them for the longest time, we would try to go, okay, let's create a better system so that when they call, how to handle issues, right? But Pete, my business partner, who's apparently a lot smarter than I am, said, wait a second. He said, how do we stop the calls from coming in? Why don't we go upstream and let's stop the person from even having to make the call and become a proactive company so that we can reach out to the owner before they reach out to us. Because when an owner, tenant, or a tradie is reaching out to you, they feel that they have to babysit you, and you erode that trust subtly, but every subtle time they're like, man, I got to call this property management company again, as opposed to the property management company proactively going after them and letting them know, hey, just want you to know this happened, this is done, it's all taken care of, don't worry about it. Cool. Or you were supposed to call me at 3, it's 2:55, here's the update.
Yeah, cool.
So what I've learned by that is by us creating the right culture in our team and having the right vision and being a leader and creating that, we at Empire are changing the dynamics from a reactive company to a proactive company where the property managers, believe it or not, because of, you know, we outsource and we do all that stuff, right person, right seat, so that the property manager can focus on the 20% of the top clients to make sure that they are taken care of, because that is where your money comes from. And so we want them to have the good relationship with the owner so that every time they call, the owner's not going, what's this phone call going to cost me, right? What problem does this person have? As opposed to the property manager calling going, hey, I'd like to give you a coupon 2 for dinner on me because you're such a good client. Thank you very much. And they're going to go, wow, that's great. And by what we've realized by doing that, the owners have trust in you so that when you do have a screw up or there's a mess up, they say, you know what, it's cool, I get it, no worries, you're a good person. Because they created that positive reinforcement by being proactive as opposed to just like this adversarial grinding. And it's like, you know, and Darren knows this, you know, how long can the property manager last before they blow out the back end, right? Because it's really a race to the end, right? I'm going to pile as many as I can on this property manager, and I'm going to hope and pray that they can take this, redlining it, so that I can make as much money before they go away. And that's kind of the mindset of most property management companies.
I'm just going to jump in, Deniz, if you could, next question, if you could move to the rent roll growth, the 80% of the growth, where that comes from. But before we do that, I just want to mention to our listeners and our viewers, we've actually done a teaching session with Steve. So if you're part of the Inject Growth series, go to the growth videos, not the property management nuts and bolts videos for property managers, but the growth stuff for BDMs growing. In there, session number 18, we've already done a teaching session with Steve called Growing the Value Mindset, Making More Money with Your Property Management Services. I think, Steve, very quickly, we talked about how your BDMs are showing how much value you can bring to owners before you're actually signing the deal. So, you know, you guys obviously spend a lot of time, certainly with your content marketing, you know, showing how much you can add value to these owners.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, obviously I'm a salesperson and I love closing and I love negotiating and I love showing value. The challenge I think a lot of BDMs have is whatever, I shouldn't just say BDMs. I think it's anyone in general, is whatever you fear most ends up happening. So when you fear fees, that's what ends up happening. So when you're on the phone call and it's, you know, you're assuming that this investor knows everything and they know what they're doing. And there's that 2-second pause after they talk and they go, well, what are your fees? The first thing the BDM says is, oh, I knew it. Another guy that's shopping me. as opposed to you taking that and going, perfect, this is exactly where I want him to be. Now I can show him value. I can find out his problem, and I can show him the value that I offer, and I can close him on value, and price will not even be an issue. But because the BDM, let's say, they fear price, and they fear that, that's all they talk about. And then they go 7%, 8%, 9%. And they go, oh, the guy goes, thank you. And I'm like, you didn't even explain to him what the value. And the biggest challenge with that, I think, and when we did our tour, I spoke on this, was everyone assumes that if they ask a question, you have to answer, right? Somebody asks a question, what are your fees? We're taught as little kids, I ask, you answer. But the reality is you don't have to answer that question. You could say, that's a great question. Let me ask you, where's the property located? Well, why do you need to know that? Well, if it's not even in my area, I can't even manage it. So I need to make sure this is something that we'll take on.
So before we hand back to Deniz, just confirm again with the session 18 teaching, you guys are also converting 50% of your leads into new business. I know you guys have some of the highest fees in Texas. We'll talk about that shortly. But anyway, Deniz, back to you.
So, you know, while you're talking about 50% of the leads that are coming in, a lot of people might not think that that's much, but, you know, you guys do a great job of calculating the actual leads that are coming in, and then your conversion rate from your appointments is really high. So that's what's important as well, because your leads, you're getting all sorts of cold leads through to hot leads. So, you know, don't think that 50% is bad when you're getting the number of leads that Empire Industries is getting. You know, it's huge. So,
it's a percentage. It's relative. You know, it's a direct reflect of how much we're investing in our marketing dollars.
Well, I mean, 450 doors in 12 months is evidence that 50% of conversion of leads is good. So, you know, just that in itself. So, Steve, what are the three key areas of where, you know, 80% of your business is coming from? So, you know, I mean, we see your social media presence, we see your Google reviews, and, you know, and the marketing. You've got a great emails. You do a lot of educational evenings, etc. yourself, which I love. I love training on that, as you know. So where would 80% of three key areas? What would be the top three things that would bring in 80% of your business?
Definitely, if I could clump in the internet, I mean, internet is huge for us because, and it's not because we spend a lot of money on the internet. It's because we spend a lot of time creating quality content. And you guys do such a great job of showing people. You know, it would kill me to have to tell people that many times to make a video. You guys are pretty patient, I got to say, because I have probably 300 videos on my website of me talking 3 to 5 minutes. And you know how many owners come to us that we talk to and they go, I came to you because I looked at your website and I saw all of your videos, and that's why I hired you, because you guys are an expert. So I'm sorry, I'm going off task here.
No. But what's really interesting you say that is our top BDMs are the ones doing the videos.
It's not magic. It's simple. It's like if you want to close doors, you've got to become the expert. The way that you become the expert 24 hours a day is by having videos on your website and make sure that your videos match the problem of the client. Very simple.
Yep. Well, it's interesting because the last three people that we've spoken to, you included, Brian Birdie, Natalie South, big on video. And that's why we've got you three, obviously, on there. And then we could talk about Greg Watson. We could talk about Martina Berry. We could talk about everyone else that we've had on this show. And, you know, they're very big on video. And there's a certain reason for that. Having 300, so that's cool. And you obviously, that goes out into email marketing. That goes onto social media. That's onto Google, your YouTube. It's on your website. So I get that side. So that's your internet all in one there, which is huge.
Yeah. So the secondary, I would say, would be probably agent referrals. As I said, we've got the agent referral program. We push that pretty hard. So that's a great source, because that's just, you know, that comes down to relationship. Your relationship based. And but case in point though, is our education to agents is the same thing. We make videos. We send them stuff online. We have landing pages for them. We do Facebook marketing to them. It's agent referrals, but how do you get to that agent? Well, you get to them virtually. We also do a lot of targeting. We sponsor realtor events, happy hours, you know, all of those things. So those are all big things. And I would say the last thing would be from our educational events, all the educational things that we do. owner education event. We just had a owner appreciation night, end of year. So we had our owners come into our office, and we did that. You have awards for them: owner of the year, owner of the quarter, owner that bought the most properties. You're trying to create, you want to create a culture so that your owners feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So Steve, all right, you've got your BDMs out there, and the BDM is sitting in front of a client or talking to a possible cold lead on the phone, and the owner says, look, you know, how are you different from the other agents in your area? Aren't all property managers the same? What points of difference would you pull out of your sleeve at that point, and to sell to the owner that how you are actually different?
That's a good question, Darren. The way that I've done it, and again, I'm not sure if this is the standard, is I go back to asking questions, right? Because if I tell them we use red paper, but the guy hates red paper, he's going to go, yeah, not using you. But if I ask him, well, let me ask you this. What is the most important thing when you're hiring my company? Notice I use a little hiring my company already. But I'm already asking them, when you hire my company, what is the top three things that you want to have when you hire me? So they're telling me what's the most important thing. And I go, yeah, that's exactly what we do. Those are our top three things. Because if I tell them, hey, we have the best online banking system, we're going to be able to pay you anywhere you are. We can pay you on your phone. We can pay you on your house, wherever. And the guy goes, I don't even own a computer. I'm going to go, that would have been.
Or I've already got that with my current company.
Exactly.
Sorry, hang on. Beep. I just put a beep on that one there.
Yeah, sorry. But the point is that's the thing is, I'm not a big believer in outwardly throwing. I don't want to throw that ball until I know that they want it, right? And the only way I know is by me asking questions. So that's just how I've learned. I want to know what their problem is. So, you know, I could say, you know, we have a 3-point promise. You know, we do a 12-month tenant guarantee, right? We have a pet guarantee, and we have a 100% owner satisfaction guarantee, right? So we have a 3-point guarantee that we have. But that may not be important to them. So I don't necessarily want to talk to them about that. So one of the things that we do is every time we've got a great closing technique that we use that is amazing. And it gives back to our veterans. Every time we meet with a client, behalf of them, we donate a meal to feed a veteran of the war, right?
Well done.
And we have cards. We have a whole presentation. It's on the beginning of the management agreement that says we partnered. It's called Camp Hope. They're veterans with PTSD. And so we partner with them. And at the end of a quarter, on behalf of all the clients, whether we hire them or not, we give them a check. But if it's someone who's a military person, that may hold more weight than me saying that I have a 3-point guarantee. Why are we different? We give back to our community. We donate and we feed our veterans because we think it's important to do. So if I'm not perceptive, you know, Dennis, when you walk into a property, you know as well as I do, you're looking around, you're paying attention. If you see all these war memorabilia things on the wall, I'm thinking probably someone that I would talk about. If I see to peace signs and no war, no this, probably not something I'm going to talk about, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if that answered your question, Darren, but I'm taught to audibilize on what's needed at the time.
No, it certainly does. And I mean, you know, Darren, again, in the Inject series, there's a session that I've done on gaining trust before the presentation. And these are questions that I ask Steve because, you know, what are your concerns about renting your home out is my favorite question, because that one there, when they answer it, you're about to slam it. You know what you're going to talk about right there before you get in the door. You're going to destroy any concern they've got with the systems. It will match like what you're saying. You match the client to your script. There's no use going off into a tangent. And, you know, it doesn't become about the fee anymore, because that trust factor, you know, and Steve, I don't know how many times I've heard you say, you know, you're not at the property to convince them to use you, you're there to close.
You've already sold them on the phone. There's no reason you're not there to present, you're there to close. Bring a pen, bring a contract, and close them.
That's right. Something that we both say.
So just jumping in, just very quickly for Inject Growth Series people, session 31, how to build trust fast to get the business. That's the session that Deniz just mentioned there. Check that out. Accelerating that trust. Also with Steve, go to his website, Empire Industries LLC.com. That's where you're going to find Steve talking about the videos. Also check out Steve on Facebook, Empire Industries as well. Steve really has risen up in the last few years together with Pete and becoming real leaders in the industry. We've seen these guys go from here to here and really becoming leaders in the USA property management, but certainly globally. But next question, Steve, you guys are, we first connected a number of years ago, I believe, on fees and fee maximization. And you guys, we certainly did help you in some regard back then, but now you guys certainly have, I would think, one of the longest lists of owner fees, longest list of tenant fees. You are probably in the United States now. You guys have really gone beyond what I can teach you or what I taught you back then. And so with that in mind, you're going into appointments where you are the most expensive. A lot of agencies say, but owners only care about cheap fees. They just want that cheaper agent. So if that was true, that means that you wouldn't be able to get any business at all, but yet you do go in. So how are you guys ensuring that you are getting all your fees? What are you doing?
It's a mindset. It's all about mindset. I mean, you don't know this, but I'm charging you right now for this conversation. No, just kidding.
You haven't got my bill yet, buddy.
But it's a mindset. My thing is four wheels and an engine. It's a car, right? Why have a Mercedes when you could have a cheaper in Toyota? You do it because of value. You do it perceived value, right? There's perceived value in, let's say, a Mercedes-Benz or a Maserati. If you bought a Maserati, you would assume you're going to pay a lot more than a Toyota, right? We all, without a doubt, know when we go to get it serviced, we're going to pay a lot more for tires and change the oil of a Maserati, right?
Yeah, well
said. Same concept. It's four wheels and an engine, right? It's, what you have to do is you have to explain to them, listen, do you want the right person in your property? It's all about asking the right questions. And it's about, why do you pay more for Maserati? Because it's a Maserati, and that's why you're going to pay more for it. Why are you going to pay more for us? Because we're Empire Industries, and we feel that we're worth it because we're going to take care of your property, we're going to take care of your client, and we're going to make sure that everything is taken care of to the best of our ability. And there's value in that. It's like flying first class and coach in an airplane, right? You get to the same destination, but the experience is different. It's all about the experience. Experience for the tenant, experience for the owner, experience for the tradie. And, one of the things that we hit on, Darren, is, I explained to them, listen, this is the second largest investment of your life. Is this really where you want to cut corners and pinch pennies? I don't think it is, right? Do you want to make sure your tenant is paying top rent, but also happy and taking care of your property? If they're paying top rent, but they're trashing your house, are we really doing a good job for you?
So well done. Let's move on with this, because Steve is getting some of the fastest growth that we've seen, definitely in Texas, if not the United States. And I would say you're not the most expensive, but you're probably in that top 5 in the country. So again, for people to say, oh, but owners only want cheap fees. No. It means you're offering a cheap proposition that matches your cheap fees. You've got to up the ante with the value that you bring to owners. You bring up that value, then you're going to get your fees as well. But Steve, look, let's moving on. I remember having a drive with you in Houston a couple of years ago, and I threw at you, and I want your favorite script for the owner says to you, if you can match your management fee with the other agency down the road, we'll go with you. What's your favorite response that you like to give to that line?
Boy, it's been a while since I've been standing. I got to dust off my cleats and think about this to get back in the game here. What I used to have a great comeback on that. I cannot. It's escaping me.
I can vaguely remember it too, and it was a really, really good one. And if I went back in my notes, I'd find it and remind you. So
yeah, I used to have some very, very good things that were just closers. I mean, I was a good closer.
Can I just add something here? Normally, if someone is, if you've sat there, you've had a presentation with them, and they're coming back to if you're going to match, the BDM actually hasn't done their job correctly. You haven't done this is how much we can save you, because your BDM isn't about the fee. The BDM's job isn't about explaining what your fees are and matching fees. Your job is about showing the client how much they save by using you, whether it's saving them because you know how to protect their asset by doing a better tenant selection process because you've got better marketing, or, you know, we are like, you know, Steve, off memory, when I was doing some training with you guys, your eviction rate was less than 1%. So that was a massive point of difference. You could say it doesn't matter what anyone else is charging. You know, we're evicting less than 1% of our clients because, so you're actually showing and proving to the owners that you are collecting rent.
Well, and not only that, I would use, you know, Darren's. I remember listening to one of Darren's, you know, audios back in the day, and it was the cup of coffee analogy. You know, you're a cup of coffee a day. You know, are we worth that? The difference, you know,
or a cup of coffee a week.
Cup of coffee a week. I'm sorry, a cup of coffee a week. And you know, when you put it in that analogy of saying, listen, do you want a, you know, we won national awards. We've won a lot of stuff. Do you want a national award company that will take care of your property? You know, one of the best things that I've coined, I'll say, is we're relationship based, not transactional based. If you want the cheap person to ring the cash register, I'd be happy to introduce you to them. But I guarantee you, you're going to be back here like everyone else is down the road, maybe with a lawsuit, with an eviction, with a horror story. And you're going to ask yourself, did you really save money? Because the one thing I tell owners all the time is I say, what you're not factoring in is the mental stress of babysitting that property manager and always calling them and wondering. And then if they put the wrong person in because they're saving money, and now you have the stress of not getting your mortgage payments paid because you're not getting your rent, factor in what that cost is. Because a lot of people do not factor in the cost of the mental anguish that you, Mr. Owner, are going to go through by trying to save the cost of a cup of coffee a week.
Yeah, $4 for peace of mind, really. You know?
Absolutely. So is it worth it? You know?
Yeah, no, that's really good. So what are your growth goals for next year, Steve, 2019?
Well, we want to, like I said, we're looking to go into some more cities, acquisitions.
Yep.
It's going to be acquisitions and organic as well. 622 doors, I believe, is our forecasted goal number, which leads, I think that's about 50 doors a month is what we're trying to do, which is a lot. It's a lofty goal, as well as acquisitions of about 500 doors on a rent roll. So whether it's one company with 500 or what, that's kind of the goal. That's kind of where we're at on that scene. And it's, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, look, I will tell you, you know, as Darren said, you know, and you as well, Dennis, you know, you guys have seen us coming up through the ranks. And for everyone out there, there's no magic pill. I mean, it's a matter of getting up every day and grinding it out, just like you guys do with what you do. You know, you don't realize you're getting up the hill and you're up the hill, you know, because you're working every day. And for the people that are trying to do this, you just got to get up every day and grind it out and have that goal, set that goal way upstream and always be focusing on where you're going, because, you know, that our next year is in sequence of our final year, right? So we're doing 622 or 1,100 doors is our goal next year because we have a bigger goal. So it's not like we just picked that. It's we're going towards something. And I think that's where a lot of people, they let the economy, they let their mindset, they let their friends, family, they let those dictate what their goals are going to be for the year. And I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, well said. That's really good. So, yeah, what are some of the KPIs that you might have in place for your BDM? So I know you're not the BDM now. Okay. I mean, when you were, obviously your goal was to get in as many doors as you can to, you know, to close as much as you could. And I know you focused on actually asking the question at the property was a KPI and coming back with the signature. But what have you got with your BDMs? What's a KPI that you might have in place for them to ensure that they're listing and growing?
Sure. So we do things, as you guys know, I'll tell the audience, you know, we use a lot of virtual assistants, and a lot of our initial inbound calls are all done through virtual assistants. And so they have KPIs. Our whole company is run through KPIs. So they have to have a certain percentage. And bear in mind what people need to understand about KPIs. KPIs are a great tool if you use it correctly. Like, for example, I know you guys don't have guns down here, but if you had a bullet, throwing a bullet at someone doesn't really help you if someone's attacking you. You need to use the tool correctly by putting actually in a weapon and firing it, right? So it's a great tool if you understand how to use it. And what KPIs are good about is they're good at understanding what's working, but more importantly, being able to do a deeper dive into what's not working. And when you have KPIs, those KPIs can change based on issues or challenges that you have in your company at the time, whether it's a property manager, BDM, whatever it is. So if, for example, let's just say that we are not getting many appointments that we'd like to have, then we got to go and say, okay, what is going on? Are we not getting calls? Are we getting calls and we're not converting them? Are we getting calls and converting them, but we're not actually closing them? Where is the problem? And KPIs will identify that, because we say, okay, for example, we want to have, so as an example, I'll give you some easy math. We bring in roughly about 200 leads every single month contact us. They raise their hand in some way and say, I would like to talk to Empire, whether it's online, phone call, filling out a contact form, whatever it is. So of those, we want to have a 50% conversion rate of the ones that come in to the ones that actually are people that we would manage for. We want to see 50%. Because if not, we have a marketing problem. We don't have a BDM problem. We have a marketing problem because we're not targeting the right people. So saying my BDM sucks because they're not closing doors, she may say, well, we're not even getting the right people. So we need to understand who we're targeting. Then once we do that, then we want to say, okay, of those ones that they get that are actual legitimate leads, how many meetings are we setting? Whether it's a phone appointment or an in-person appointment, how many of those are we setting? And those are KPIs. And what we've done is we've set up parameters to say, okay, this KPI is a metric and it's color coded, meaning we say we want to have, let's just say 50%. If it's under 50%, it's red. If it's an over 50% conversion, it's green. So you are looking at, as a BDM coach or BDM or leader, whatever, all you're looking at in your KPIs are red or green. And that way you're getting a quick overview of going, okay, green, 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 we must be hitting our numbers. We're not hitting our numbers, there's a number off.
Yeah, right? That's really cool. So basically what you're saying, Steve, is your KPIs is you actually tracking the leads coming in and the conversion rates, which is really good. I mean, I've had firsthand having a look at your, how your virtual assistants work, and I've listened to them a conversation, and I've got to say I was absolutely like blown away with how you can monitor that. So well done. It's a brilliant system that you've got in place there, which is great.
And again, I'm a firm believer in right person, right seat, right? And I want to have the right person with the right skills. I don't personally believe, my opinion is, I do not think a BDM has the skill set or their time is best spent filling out management agreements. I don't think that's what they should be doing. If a BDM is not closing doors, they're not making me money.
Yeah.
Very simple, right?
Well
so
done.
I don't think they should be doing CMA analysis. I don't think they should be creating leases. I don't think they should be doing any of that. I want them in front of Deniz closing them. That's what I want.
Yep. Well said.
All righty. Let's just finish this off, Steve. One last question. And, actually one of your favorite statements, I remember a famous Steve quote is, what is the purpose of the listing appointment?
Yeah. So
close. You got to go in and close, right? You're going there to close.
Absolutely. You are there
just to close. And that's all it is. But you're on, okay, let's say you're on stage and you have actually spoken twice at the Inspired Growth Conference. But let's say you're on stage, you're in front of business owners, business development managers, and those that sign up new business. You've only got 1 minute. What's the most important thing you would say in that 1 minute?
I would say they need to invest in their team, and they need to make sure they give the team the right skills and the right ability to do what they need to do and the autonomy to do it. But they need to be the owners and they need to be accountable for everything. So the biggest challenge owners have is they don't feel that because I'm an owner, I don't have to be accountable to anyone. I don't have to do a KPI. I don't have to fill out anything. But the problem is sometimes the owner is actually the problem. It's not the team. The owner won't get out of people's way. They won't trust their team. They don't trust their team because they don't have systems. They don't have structure. They don't have KPIs. So sometimes it's a bad leader, not a bad team. So what I would say to, if there were owners, principals in the audience, I would say you need to become a good leader, not a good manager. Because a manager tells people what to do. A leader has people following them. And there's a big difference in that. I think a lot of people, they think that because they own the company that they're a leader, and they're not. And sometimes, again, I've learned sometimes the biggest problems are the owners of the principals of the company.
All Alrighty, so I think let's just close off this interview. It's been very, very good, Steve. A lot of great content. But look, just letting everyone know, Steve is also a consultant. He's able to help you with your business if you need some help. Steve, how do people get in contact with you? What's the best way?
The best way is probably email steve@empireindustriesllc.com. Or you can find me on Facebook. I'm there quite a bit. I got a lot of stuff going on, and obviously reaching out to you guys. You guys can direct me to them. But look, at the end of the day, I always tell people I don't need to consult you to give you advice. I know there's a lot of people here in Australia that I have worked with and helped. They call me and say, "Hey, how would you handle this situation?" I think at the end of the day, we're all in this battle together. And if I can help someone, I know it always comes back to me manyfold. So if I can do that, I'm more than willing to.
So Steve is also, he travels from Houston, between Houston and Sydney. He's in Australia for those 2-day layover. So if you want Steve in your office here in Australia, have a chat to Steve, and he'll be able to let you know if he can work that out with his schedule. So guys, thank you very much. Great session. A lot of great content there, Steve. Really appreciating, and take care, everybody.
Yeah, that was really good. And Steve, you can also be contacted in our members group. Anyone part of our members group can ask questions in there as well. If you're not a member of our group, just go to do a search for IGT Inner Circle, click join, answer the questions, and Steve's available there as well.
All righty. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Take care.